Part 1, Introduction, The Shadow in the Atlantic. There are places in the Atlantic Ocean where the water feels heavier than elsewhere. Not because of depth, but because of memory. Memory of steel tearing apart. Of fire and smoke. Of men screaming in freezing darkness. One of those places lies more than 300 miles west of France. There, at a depth of nearly 5 kilometers, rests the German battleship Bismarck. Once feared. Once hunted. Once unstoppable, or so it seemed. This is not a story about invincibility. It is a story about arrogance, fear, and the moment when an entire empire decided that one ship had to die. Part 2, Birth of a Giant. Bismarck was born from humiliation. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles stripped Germany of its naval power. Battleships were restricted. Ambitions were crushed. But in the 1930s, that restraint vanished. Nazi Germany began building ships not just to fight, but to intimidate. Bismarck was the embodiment of that idea. Over 50,000 tons fully loaded. 8 380mm guns. Heavy armor designed to withstand almost any naval shell. High speed for a battleship of her size. She was not built to defend Germany's coast. She was built to rule the ocean. Yet there was a flaw hidden beneath the steel. Germany did not have a fleet to support her. Bismarck would sail alone, a giant without an army. Part 3, The Men on the Bridge. Commanding the ship was Captain Ernst Lindemann. A calm, professional naval officer. Above him stood Admiral Gunther Lütjens, the commander of the operation. Lütjens was cautious. He had seen German ships destroyed before. He did not believe a single battleship could defeat the Royal Navy. Their mission was called Operation Rainabon. The goal was simple: break into the Atlantic and destroy British supply convoys. But everyone aboard understood the truth. If Bismarck was found, there would be no escape. Part 4, Into the North. On May 18, 1941, Bismarck left port. No ceremony. No speeches. Only gray skies and cold water. With her sailed the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen. Ahead lay the most dangerous passage of all. The Denmark Strait, between Greenland and Iceland. A narrow corridor of fog, ice, and death. And the British were waiting. Part 5, First Contact. On May 23, British cruisers HMS Suffolk and HMS Norfolk detected 2 large ships on radar. There was no doubt. It was Bismarck. The cruisers did not engage. They shadowed her, transmitting coordinates. The hunt had begun. In London, the response was immediate. Britain's pride, the legendary battlecruiser HMS Hood, was sent to intercept. Part 6, The Battle of the Denmark Strait. At dawn on May 24, 1941, 4 warships emerged from the fog. Hood, Prince of Wales. Bismarck, Prinz Eugen. At 5:55 a.m., the first shots were fired. The British made a fatal mistake. They targeted the wrong ship. While British shells fell around Prinz Eugen, Bismarck calmly found the range. At 6 a.m., 1 shell struck Hood. It penetrated the deck and reached the ammunition magazine. The explosion tore the ship apart. In less than 3 minutes, HMS Hood was gone. Out of more than 1,400 men, only 3 survived. Across the world, the news sent shockwaves. Britain had lost a legend. Part 7, A Pyrrhic Victory. Bismarck had won. But she was wounded. A British shell had ruptured fuel tanks in her bow. She was leaking oil, losing range and speed. Admiral Lütjens made his decision. Instead of continuing the raid, Bismarck turned toward occupied France. That choice sealed her fate. Part 8. Sink the Bismarck. The British response was absolute. Sink the Bismarck. Not a slogan. An order. Battleships. Cruisers. Aircraft carriers. Destroyers. Everything that could float was sent after one ship. The hunter had become the hunted. Part 9. The Torpedo. On May 26th, aircraft from HMS Ark Royal attacked. They flew outdated biplanes, swordfish, slow and fragile. But they flew low. Through heavy fire. One torpedo struck the stern. The rudder jammed. Bismarck began turning in circles. She could no longer steer. Admiral Lütjens sent his final message. The ship is no longer maneuverable. We will fight to the last shell. Part 10. The Final Battle. At dawn on May 27th, British battleships HMS Rodney and HMS King George V opened fire. Shell after shell tore into Bismarck. Her guns fell silent one by one. Her superstructure burned. Her crew fought on. Yet the hull refused to sink. Finally, torpedoes struck her sides. And her own crew opened the sea valves. At 10:39 a.m., Bismarck disappeared beneath the Atlantic. Part 11. Conclusion. What Bismarck really meant. Bismarck was not invincible. She sailed for only 9 days. But in those 9 days she destroyed HMS Hood, paralyzed the Royal Navy,